We'll go ahead and solve this using the quadratic formula, which is x equals negative b plus or minus the square root of b squared minus 4ac over 2a. So in order to use this formula, we need to identify a, b, and c. A, b, and c are coming from the coefficients of our quadratic equation. In order to identify them, we need to make sure that we have 0 on one side of our equation, which we already have here. The general form is ax squared plus bx plus c equals 0. Once we have something in that form, we can identify a, b, and c and plug them into this formula. So the a is the number part or coefficient attached to the x squared, which in this case is 2. The b is the number part attached to the x, so that's also 2. And the c is the constant term, in this case is negative 1. So make sure that you include those minus signs with the numbers that follow them. So now we'll go ahead and take these numbers and plug them into that formula. So x equals a negative b, so that's negative 2, plus or minus the square root of b squared. So we want to be careful with that when we're plugging it in. You stick it in parentheses, that would be helpful, especially if b is negative. Minus 4 times a times c, and all of that's over 2a. So now we just need to work to simplify this, starting with the expression inside that square root. We want to make sure and get that completely simplified before we start trying to cancel anything. So we've got the negative 2 plus or minus the square root of 4 minus 4 times 2 is 8 times negative 1 would be negative 8. So 4 minus negative 8, and that's all over 4 here. So this is a negative 2 plus or minus the square root of 12. So 4 minus negative 8 is the same as 4 plus 8. And now, even though it might look like 2 goes into everything, this is not a 12 up here, this is a square root of 12. So we can't reduce that 12 over 4. We need to still simplify that square root. Now, the square root of 12 does not work out on its own, but it does have a perfect square factor, namely 4. 12 can be written as 4 times 3, and so the square root of 12 is the square root of 4 times the square root of 3, and the square root of 4 is 2. So we can simplify the square root of 12 as 2 square root 3, and that would make our expression then negative 2 plus or minus 2 square root of 3 over 4. And now we can reduce this, since 2 does go into every term here on the top and it goes into the 4 there on the bottom. So let me go ahead and just factor out a 2 on top, and that would leave us with a negative 1 plus or minus 1 square root of 3 over 4, and then we can reduce that. There, that 2 goes into 4 2 times. So our final answer there that we get is that x equals negative 1 plus or minus square root of 3 all over 2. So that gives us two solutions. Our two solutions are negative 1 plus square root of 3 over 2, negative 1 minus square root of 3 over 2.